Hello. I decided to start early just in case my connection is bad and I need a lot of time to pass. Wow, it worked. I guess coming on time is coming on time is really it pays efforts, okay? Hello everybody. This is the first experiment of the 4-month live, and I want to encourage you guys to ask questions. And by the way, I want to give a shout out to Andrei, who shared his first time experience in the post with that theme. Congratulations. That was not easy to, you broke the ice from the members. And yeah, I super appreciate that. And by the way, the story that you shared there is quite delicate. And when I read what your girlfriend confessed in that moment, I was like, wow, you had it really tough and you had no idea. um, and I'm not laughing at the situation. I'm just, it's a, it's a supportive laugh, if you want, from me. So hi, if you're coming in, do say hello. I can't see you if I just see that, I don't know how many people are online, but do say hello. Now, moving on with questions. First of all, we have 4 questions that I wrote down, and I'll try to tackle each one. So the first one, if we're talking about knowing our body, especially our intimate parts, how is it that some women are interested in a healthy sexual life and who choose a man vibrationally compatible are reserved to explore themselves? Okay, that's a good one. First of all, those women are probably not talking about knowing their own body. Those women are probably thinking of somebody knowing their body for them. In a way, this is a very common way of interacting sexually, and it's a very common way of, hi Soren. So it's a very common way of relating to other people. From a very early age, we're taught to focus more on what the others say, think, or how we relate to others, but we're not so much focused to stay with our own emotions and say what we really want, what we really need. Seldomly are we brought up like that. And at least people in my generation, so born around 1982, before or after, where we haven't been taught those things really. So it's first, probably those women that this person is mentioning are probably not talking about or not thinking about knowing their own body. They're expecting that somebody knows it for them, or somebody goes into the process of knowing their body for them. And it is common. I would like to point this out, that I've had a lot of women approaching me, so not going into coaching, but just approaching me with a general inquiry about coaching, who were reluctant to go into self-pleasuring. They just, no, they didn't want to do that. No, they don't do that. Their husband or lover or fiance would touch them and they would be okay with that, but they would not explore their own body. And although I never mentioned to them that they had a blockage in their relationship to their body, that was pretty much what I saw. So that was the obvious thing there. So how are they reserved to explore themselves? Okay, this is how they're reserved. Now, why are they saying that they're interested in a healthy sexual life? Well, that can be from many, I could think of multiple reasons. Number one, maybe intellectually, they're open and they know that they want to explore and they know that they want a healthy sex life. But when it comes to embodying that openness, okay, it doesn't happen. So the connection to the body, the actual concrete expression of knowing themselves does not happen. I don't know if you guys can hear, but my dog is crying in the other room. So yeah, I hope that's not too bad. I can hear him. Okay, moving on to question number 2. If we're thinking about women that are acting in erotic movies, how can they be so open with them? Do you consider that act fake? Do you consider that act fake and them disrespectful to their feminine vibe? No, I don't. Um, this is a very common perspective that I see with a lot of people going into sexual development. They start to place judgments on others. And the way they do that is, okay, are those women disrespecting? They're disrespecting. No way, I would never do that. So I used to do that before I started exploring sexually, like developing sexually. That's what I mean. I think every person is in a different place in their life. And sometimes it makes sense for people to explore their sexuality in a very overt, in a very externalized manner. So focused all on the outside. That's what pornography does. Basically, really, and for them to act those things, because in essence, yes, this is what pornography is. It's an act. But for those people acting in those movies, some are forced, and that's gruesome. I don't know if you've ever encountered those movies, but it's gruesome. Some, however, and that's the majority, they're not forced. They do this because they think it's cool. They like that. They get high on that. And they're turned on by that. And it works for them. So I don't think that it's disrespectful. I think that's a level of their development or path or a place in their path of sexual expression. And this is where they are. And many people don't get past that. Those are the porn stars that really stay in that business until they get too old to be cool to show on TV. But other people, they go there, they explore it, and at a certain point they stop and they move on to something else. So they take some learning from that. So I don't consider it disrespectful. I consider it makes sense for those people, except for the ones that are forced into it, so abused in a way. That is, I have an, unfortunately, that I do judge, and I have a negative judgment to that, and I have a negative emotion and reaction to that. I get grossed out. I used to, because I also used to watch porn, by the way. I was not addicted to it, but I used to watch porn and self-pleasure with porn, and it made sense for me in a while, in a time, and it was for some years actually. It made sense for me to do that. At a certain point, I stopped, and I did not go back there until I really went low, until I felt really lousy, really, that's how I noticed that I would go back there. I was not feeling okay. But so that's how I encountered those movies with women being forced into it. And I would shut down everything. I would get gross out and just, that kind of caught my pleasure in those moments. And in a way, I'm happy it did for me. So, but otherwise, I don't, yes, it is a fake act, and I know it, but I don't think it's disrespectful. It makes sense for some people, and for others, they grow out of it again. So, moving on to question number 3. Do you believe that everyday masturbation and daily use of pornography would dull the mind and stop the pleasure circuits in the mind? Well, everyday masturbation would not dull the mind unless you did it really mechanically and really dissociated from your body. Like you would do something really fast to release tension, and then you're out of there, and you don't really put much attention into it, awareness, consciousness, emotions, or anything like that. From that yeah, from that perspective, daily masturbation is really not okay. But otherwise, if you're conscious and if you're doing things with intention, it doesn't hurt. On the contrary, there are many people who go into daily practices with that. And one of the assignments that I had in my training, sexological bodywork, was actually to self-pleasure. Hi, Luminita. Was to self-pleasure daily for a minimum of 30 days. And I wasn't the only one. We were 40 in our group, and we all had to do that. But we were told to do it in a certain way, with intention, with a certain ritual done in the moment, with a certain amount of time spent. So it wasn't exactly 5 minutes. We were not given a how do I call it, a time limit, but we were recommended to pass a certain time if we could. That was also the case. And afterwards, we were told to do something at the end also. So it made sense in our practice to do it like this. And then we would write down conclusions. And at the end of the 30 days, daily, because this was what it challenged a lot of people, 30 days in a row, self-pleasuring. And it challenged actually the people that were in relationships. Like they didn't see the fun in it, they didn't see the point. They had a lover, but they had to do this assignment. So it was more challenging for the people who were in relationships than for the single ones. And at the end of that month, we would write down our conclusions. And we were also, this was part of our assignment, to read the reports of at least 2 other people and give our own so not opinion, because we were never encouraged to judge others on how they self-pleasured. There's no right or wrong way to do that. It's everybody has their way. What we were encouraged to do is say how we related to their stories, what we felt, what ignited in us, what inspired in us, what if it encouraged us or not. So how we felt about what they were sharing. So from that perspective, if you do daily, so everyday masturbation, you call it masturbation, I call it self-pleasuring. No, that's not going to hurt you. That's going to make you become more aware of a lot of things that happen in your body. That is a self-awareness tool. That is a self-exploration tool. And for me, for instance, if you ask me what I believe about everyday masturbation, when I'm really bad, really low on emotion, I immediately go to self-pleasuring. That's what helps me lift my vibration and my mood and my emotions. And if you're not, so if you're watching this video, you're not the person that asked about this. I had a post about vibration, sexual vibration. I'm going to share the link after the live is over. So this is my opinion, again. But it does matter how you do it. It's not the what, it's always the how. How you do something, how you say something, how you relate to somebody, how is actually the key. So this is my answer here. And about the daily use of pornography, well, in our training, we also had, we approached this because a lot of the people that work with us, they can come with an addiction to pornography. And although we are not doing therapy with them, we're just coaches. And we are, whenever we see somebody that has a much deeper and more profound problem like addiction, obviously we encourage them to go also to a therapist. But on our behalf, or on our part, the work that we can do with them is coach them, is coach them around changing their habit slowly, gradually, with the use of pornography. And that's a very concrete, actual thing that they can do. But if they do that without the mindset and without approaching the psychological problem and the emotional problem that lies underneath that addiction, then obviously it's not going to do any good for them. So here, again, I would say, how does somebody daily uses pornography? So if you're using it, whoever it is that is using pornography, just because you can't feel pleasure any other way or intensity, then I'd say you have a problem, because that's an addiction. If you can't feel pleasure in any other way with nobody else but just with pornography, then you're in big shit, I would say. Excuse my language. If you're using it just to get inspired and that's it, fine. As long as you're at a certain point doing other things aside from using pornography. So again, I don't think it automatically dulls the mind. I don't think self-pleasuring or pornography or anything is in essence good or bad, useful or not useful. I think it's how you use these things that is actually more important. And becoming aware of how you're using these things is a discussion that you can have with somebody, one-on-one discussion, where you start to look at your habits, your emotions, what happens before, after. So what is to be changed? What is the best way for you to change it in your entire life context? So just to, just this question like this, I don't necessarily see a problem with it. You would need to look at the person from a much more profound perspective. And stop the pleasure circuits in the mind? Again, not necessarily. It depends on how you use things. The mind is really like, the mind is the biggest, well, actually the brain is the biggest erotic organ in our body. But in our mind, everything starts with your definition. And by the way, there's a book out there, it's called The Erotic Mind. Maybe you want to check it out. It's one of the books that we had to read in our training. It's the foundational books. And basically, what happens in your mind, the definitions that you've had, the upbringing that you've had, and the beliefs that you've seen around you that impacted you, well, they affect also the rest of your body. So your body will attune itself to what you think, believe. If you start to implement new ways of thinking about sex, self-pleasuring, your potential, what your body can do, it doesn't solve the problem, no way, not just with thinking. It also needs action. But when you start to think about it and you place your intention in that direction, that's when you're in the most powerful place to change. So change can also happen accidentally. Those are rare moments, but the most frequent change that I see is with people that start with an intention. And intention, yeah, it's also about the wiring of your brain. So everything is connected. Like you have a thought, your circuits are going to go differently. That's what awareness is, basically. So I hope this answered. It's kind of a long answer. And the fourth question, do you think that so everyday masturbation or daily use of pornography could affect your sensuality or will to want to be with a man or woman more? No, not necessarily. Again, it's how you use it. If you don't allow that to affect it, it won't. But that, in order to really live this one out, like really be able to watch pornography daily and masturbate daily and really say that it doesn't affect anything for me, it actually requires that you be aware of your abilities, your resources that you have, your ability to change, your body's responsiveness, your body's rhythm of implementing change, especially in sexuality. So in order to really answer this, for me, to really give this answer, no, not really, it does require that a person is a little more experienced in knowing themselves. Okay? Just if you have a lot of quantity of experience, a lot of partners, a lot of crazy experiences, does not automatically make you mature and does not automatically make you experienced in knowing yourself. You know, a lot of cool things to do. You've seen a lot of people who are different in sex, but it doesn't mean necessarily that you're also mature. And this is the case also with daily use of pornography and everyday masturbation. You can do this a lot and you can be experienced in it, but if you're not really mature with yourself, yeah, it could affect you. And if you're not really conscious what you're doing, it definitely can affect you. So if you're masturbating without really being present, sure, it's going to affect you. Like nothing, obviously, no real woman, unless she's a porn star, can compare to the sex that you see in pornography. And I'm assuming that you also choose. I mean, you don't just go for any kind of pornography. Every person chooses, and you choose the ones that are really the most intense, the most attractive for you. And as, what do you know, most people choose what they, in pornography and watching that material, what they can't have in their real life. Because if they could, they would not need to look at it, online. So again, for me to really say no, that could not affect you, yeah, it would mean that you be more experienced and more mature in this. Hi, Roland. And Atul, hi. Sorry, I was really looking at the questions that you guys wrote, so I was not in this window. So this is what the 4 questions that I got so far. Now, I think that the people that asked, no, it was Christina and Arthur, and they're not online now. So I'm guessing that they will see the answers in the replay. But if anybody here has any question now, ask it now or hold your peace until next month. So yeah, because I'm pretty much done with the questions and it was super fast. So do let me know if there are any other questions. Everybody's quiet. You guys, I don't know if you're shy or if you're like, if you really don't have questions. But from my perspective, please know that it's okay to ask. I'm super open to this. I'm not going to judge. On the contrary, I'm here to serve you guys. So if you're ever worried or embarrassed about anything, please don't be. This is at least not in this group. So I'll post a kinky picture in the following days just to make you feel better. Now, if you can see, I'm wearing the Black Widow outfit. Something happened and I'm still working on it, so I didn't feel like wearing anything more happy. But in a few days when I'm over this, yeah, I'll put something to make us all feel better and not embarrassed. Like, that's my promise. So no questions so far. Okay, well, I'm gonna stop it here because you guys gonna ask questions whenever you feel like asking. So I'm still here, and the next live that I'll have is at the end of the next month. And remember, this is an experiment, so I'm not sure if I'll keep this on the long run or not. I want to see how it goes, how many questions there are, if at least the people that asked them are okay with the answers. Oh my God, my dog is super bad. Like, whenever neighbors pass by our house, I mean our door. Okay, sorry about that. So this is it for this evening, and and I'll see you next month, or I'll see you Friday with the weekly live. Bye.